Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Julie Mann, and I help men and women have healthy, happy, sustainable lives. And today I'm joined by Catherine Steele. Hi, Catherine.
Hello, very nice to be here. Thank you for hosting this and inviting me.
It's
I'm
really great
excited.
to see you. And I know it's a crazy early time in the morning for you, isn't
It's early. I think it's just after 1 in the morning.
it? Because
That's
you're in
Vancouver time. Yeah.
Vancouver. Fantastic. Okay. So, for those of you that haven't yet met Catherine, she works as a pronunciation coach, an author, and also she's the owner of English in Your Pocket.
That's right. Yeah.
So before we get talking about that, I'm just really curious to know, when you were a small girl, were you encouraged by your parents to speak well?
Yeah, I believe so. I think my dad is really interested in language and was always making jokes. And we had the fortune of having people from all parts of the world around us when I was growing up. And we were in Ottawa. I was born in Ottawa. And dad was practicing French and had several friends who spoke French. But there were other people from other parts of the world in the same area, and I played with them. And you had the chance to practice different sounds and not find them strange, find them interesting and desirable to create if you could. And I remember a little mouse, Speedy Gonzales, one of the cartoon characters, and maybe even Pepe Le Pew. So there were a few cartoon characters in there as well. Mom always claimed that she wasn't so great at languages, but both my mom and dad sang. So that's an early childhood memory of music and language and things being important and interesting.
Fantastic. So at what age were you, Catherine, when you realised that you had a really good ear for
Wow.
pronunciation?
You know what? That's the funny thing about kids, and it's something that I tell my adult professionals, the people who hire me. Children don't know. They're just little mimics. They copy the sounds that they hear. They're really good at it. They get in trouble sometimes because they're too accurate in the words and the sounds that they remember. And it's later when you start narrowing it down to what's important for your culture that people start to be a little bit more self-conscious about how they sound. Little kids don't. I Compared to most people that learn a first language, I have sort of maybe blessed that I had an accident as a young child that left me with a tongue split down the middle. I tripped over my tricycle, and the metal edge of where you push with your foot slit my tongue. And so at the age of about 2 or 3, I'm not quite clear what age I was, from having a really large vocabulary, I now became a child that had trouble clearly saying sounds and a very sore tongue to learn to practice all those sounds again. So that's maybe where I focused my skill. I think I had fairly significant ability to hear the different language sounds and the music of the language, but it was probably at that time when I had to struggle to make the sounds again and make them clearly that I really, I really honed a skill with language.
Oh my goodness. Not only must that have been incredibly painful, but
Mm.
very traumatic as a small girl.
Yeah, I thought, we could put a band-aid on it, but the doctor thought we'd have to have stitches. And I remembered the stitch. Um, that was quite something. And then a slowly healing tongue and sort of the embarrassment of not being able to make those words, right? I have an uncle that called me sassy, and I think it was my brother that couldn't say sassy. But I also sort of thought, you know what? I don't want to mispronounce. And so I took it very seriously, learning all those sounds again. And my name is a trick, right? It's got a TH in there, and that's not so easy when you have a sore tongue. So,
No, but I guess when you're 2 years old, you can be forgiven as being very cute. But if that
mhm,
happens to you when you're older, that's a whole different thing, isn't it?
that's right. And so my clients they're really confident. They come to Canada or the States with significant ability and experience and skill in their field, in their industry, and a very high level of English and maybe even English as a first language. But they start to realize that there's something not quite right about how they're saying things, possibly. And they are sort of between a rock and a hard place. The rock being work, where maybe they're making mistakes and people are not understanding them well or being insulted by what they hear. And the hard place is maybe a teenager at home or even a little bit younger than a teen who's starting to say, Mom or Dad, don't say that. That's embarrassing. You can't say it like that. And then the poor parent who is trying to figure out what is it exactly that is wrong, and not actually getting some help and not being told what to do and how to fix the problem. Just knowing there's something wrong. And that's not enough. So that's really hard on your self-confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we kind of get into the, the detail of what you do, in your opinion, why is pronunciation so important?
Just this weekend is Valentine's, right? And in my province, we are having Family Day. It snowed, which for Vancouver is quite exciting. But I spent the morning and thinking about this, and it comes down to respect. And in the same way that you would very carefully learn how low to bow in Japan or how to present your business card in China so that it would reflect the way that people were doing it in that culture, we have tone and word stress that is of significant importance, but no one talks about it. And so that is, to speak well here in a way that shows respect to your listener requires some musical changes. And that was a good question for me because I was just really looking at that carefully again.
So you mentioned that you work with lots of different kinds of people. Tell us
Mm-hmm.
tell us about the kinds of people that you work with.
Mm-hmm. Um, the majority would probably be in engineering, tech, healthcare, accounting, financial services, of course, anything with numbers is going to be something where you can be strong in your field. You don't necessarily have to do a lot of speaking to successfully get that job and move up. However, we have very small companies here. And so people that might be able to hide in the background and just do their work and do it well are asked to answer the phone. They're asked to give presentations. They're asked to train and things like that and do media interviews. And so it can come as a surprise to people, the level of language that they're required to be able to do. Um, I've had people in government, a consul of representing another country, a famous basketball coach, a pilot. Um, wow, a wide range of people and really interesting. I love my clients. I learn so much from them, and I the questions that people are asking are really high level questions, and they want the same fluency, the same humor, the same sort of sense of themselves in their second, third, or fourth language that they have in their first. And I really admire that. That's an amazing goal.
Fascinating. So is it always that they're learning another language, so it is their second, third, or fourth language? You don't actually work with people who can speak the native tongue, but actually their pronunciation isn't so hot?
So my people don't need English classes anymore. They've already passed, CELPIP, CELBAN, IELTS, you name it, or they never needed it because they were from a place where they spoke English as a first language. And the problem is that they're not understood. And now that we have, you know, FaceTime and Team and Google Meet and Zoom and all these other platforms where you don't actually hear people as crisply as you might have before, or there's a delay and you can't match their mouth with what they're saying. The body language isn't as clear because you have most of it cut off. People are finding it even harder. And the virtual interviews, for example, and performance reviews make things really tough. Um, I think, I always say this, we have the best in the world in Canada. They're from all parts of the world, highly educated, highly skilled, and yet they may not be in their field. So that's the danger to us, is not having the right people in their field interacting with others to create that synergy, the cure for cancer and the cure for COVID and world peace and world famine, we should be able to handle that because we've got such extremely intelligent people here all together. And yet, if people are misunderstood or are not in their position, don't have a position of power, that may never happen. And I don't want that to happen. So I'm working to make sure people get a good position and they move up in their career and people hear them. Um, Many people have had to start new businesses, small businesses, because they are not hired into a position that they would like, into the I think impactful position that they want. And so they create a business of their own. And then, of course, there's even more need to be able to do Facebook Lives and sell your products and network and really have people hear what you do and who you are in a big way.
Yeah, because I guess it must be very isolating if you feel that that is that barrier. And, obviously it's the subtleties of language, isn't it? The
Mm-hmm.
subtleties of relationship that make a difference.
That's right. And I think anything that holds you back is going to, it's a barrier that a person may not even realize that you have. You may be seen as so strong and outgoing, and why didn't you take that opportunity to give the presentation? I thought you were going to do it. Why didn't you put your hand up? And inside, this person is not seeing themselves as the exceptional professional that they truly are, and may just be held back by some small thing. And the next time that opportunity may not come back to them. So I don't want that either. I don't want people who are already at the top of their game to feel that they're not there yet, and to just put their hand up and say, yes, count me in, I'll give the presentation. So,
Which takes some courage, doesn't it? If you feel
yes.
that you are a bit of an outsider, and especially if you're focusing on the things that you can't do rather than things that you can.
Mm-hmm. And if you're from a place where it would be polite to say, oh, no, you do it this time and I'll do it next time, and not realize that there may never be a next time and you were the perfect person. And maybe that's put into that other person's mind that, oh, maybe they don't really want to do this. And it's like, yes, I did want to do this. Ask me again. But the ask me again may not happen. So I have people that have, there's a well-known grocery store here. One of my clients is giving, she's the interviewer. She's the host position for all of the people that are coming in to her area of this grocery store. Um, I've got someone who speaks for Amazon. He's based in Vancouver and he's been asked to speak in the States. And I remember that he said, he asked his team who was going to take it. No one took it. And so he said, I'm going to take it. I'm taking training. This is a good time for me to just try it. And so he did it. And so he was speaking to Amazon in Seattle, which is the big deal. And, I think anything that you can do to make sure that someone gets their opportunity, um, that's why I wake up in the morning. Really, I want that. I want that for people. I want that excitement. And I hear amazing things. My pilot is training others, and the basketball coach is going on to even more interesting things in his life. And I've got people who are originally writing health bulletins in their first language and are now doing it in English. And they're a renowned authority, and they're a renowned authority in multiple places because they are able to, get the word out in English. Maybe more people can read and hear about them. So it's very exciting.
Amazing. So it starts with them just wanting to get better at their pronunciation, and then ends up with them feeling really great about who they've become in the process.
Mm-hmm. And it may be that they're looking around and they don't see anyone doing it, and they think, okay, me. And that's brilliant. And then so this is the other thing, sorry, I'm getting a little bit choked up. Because they are doing it, we have a discussion all the time about needing to see someone of our ethnic background, of our sex, of our gender, of our age, doing something. And then we think, okay, if they're doing it, I can do it. I remember in grade 11, the girl that was a year ahead of me that lived on my street took a heavy equipment operating course. She's the first girl I'd ever heard of that stepped into sort of a more male role. And so the next year, I put my hand up and I said, I want to do it because I knew that she'd done it. So I totally get this. So I think that all of these clients of mine and anyone else, doesn't have to be a client of mine, when you step into that role, there are people seeing that you're doing it. And then they think, well, they've done it. I can do it. Nothing holding me back. And sorry, I'm getting a little steamed up here.
You,
That's really
fine, you
exciting.
steamed up.
Sorry. It's exciting, right? And it's amazing. I think that's how many years ago now? And it's still happening that we need to see somebody do it before we think that we can do it. But it's true. So let's be that first person out the gate and show other people that it can be done. So yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think we sometimes forget the impact that we have and that people are watching. They might not let us know that they're watching, but they are. And yeah, they're needing some sort of permission themselves to step up. Fantastic. So you did touch on it briefly. Obviously, sometimes, things, when people pronounce something wrong, it can be funny. Sometimes it can be really awkward and embarrassing. So have you got any examples of
Oh my goodness.
those things?
So I don't know if it's the same in the UK, but in Canada and the States, things like I'm in Vancouver, I'm near the ocean. So beach is always a problem because there's a big difference here between beach and bitch. But it may be a single sound. In fact, it is a single sound between the two in most languages. Things like focus, not saying an O with lips together, ends up being right, which is another bad one. Things like that. But what is actually probably more of a problem is when people stress the wrong parts of the sentence and they sound arrogant or bossy or something like that. So if you say, I really love your cake. I'd love to have the recipe. That's fine. That sounds good. But if you say, I really love your cake, but not her cake, right? There's a slight difference and it's enough to hurt someone's feelings. Well, I really love your cake. I'd love your recipe. Well, I'm not interested in her recipe. That would hurt, right?
Yeah.
And many languages find that it's polite and the best use of your time and energy to make every word clear. That's helpful and respectful to the listener. But if you do that in Canada and the States, it's our way of showing extreme anger. And so that's another danger, right? If you say, pick up your dirty socks. I have gone to the end. We've talked about this many times, and I'm ready to kill you. So, yeah, but things that would be the best way to do it in another culture are often not the best way to do it in North America.
Wow, it's such a minefield, isn't it, for someone?
It is. And the biggest problem is that no one mentions it. It's not something that we know how to fix, so we don't bring it up. But we do have a shocked look on our face and we do hesitate to choose someone based on some of those errors. And that's where I come in. I dive in where it's embarrassing and I talk about it. And I offer people the solution so that if it doesn't happen again, hopefully, but if it does happen again, you can turn it into your personal funny little anecdote. And I always mention, you can say, did I say that again? The last time I said that was at my daughter's wedding. So please, if you notice me, let me know.
I love that.
Right?
I love
Yeah.
that.
And
Absolutely.
then it's funny because it's only funny once. And
You have
afterward, it's
awareness, isn't
fear.
it, Catherine?
Pardon me?
Sorry, it's when you have the awareness that you're doing it and then you might do it again. I'm human, I might do it again. And if I do, because it's wrong, so someone goes, realizes that actually you realize that, and that's what's important, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Some of the things that I offer people are lists of common words in their industry that can be misunderstood so that they know, okay, I've been trying to say, I don't know, assets. This is the financial field for sure, the assets. But they're saying something like assess or assist or asses, which they don't want to say. So I put them all together beside the word that they really wanted. And I help them see what the difference might be. And so that at least in your industry, you know where things are going to go wrong and what to fix, what to focus on. Because obviously, I mean, I have conversations with people all over the world all the time, and we're having a beautiful conversation. So it's not a lot that's going wrong. There are just some pitfalls. And so if you can figure out what that might be, then you're much further ahead.
I love that what you do is so comprehensive and that you
Mm,
address the stuff that, like you say, other people don't talk about. So let's talk about elevator pitch.
okay.
Why is getting your elevator pitch so important?
Oh my goodness. I've been to so many networking events. I speak across Canada for a company called Canadian Immigrant Magazine. They like to have me come because they know communication is very important. And I have networking in each city that I go to. And it doesn't matter where I am, who I'm with, what language background, whether they're born in Canada or not, we are not good at giving our elevator pitch. And we might have the most beautiful one, the cutest one, the one that rhymes, the one that just makes you sit up and take notice, but we say it much too fast. And fast is something that's different in each language. We all think the other person is too fast. However, it's how we break our words and connect groups, thought groups, that is really important. And so I work with people to help them slow themselves down. It won't feel slow, but it's going to break it up enough that the person has a chance to think, evaluate, maybe translate, maybe disagree, maybe agree, maybe think, oh, I know somebody who does that. That little moment that you need before you go to the next part of your elevator pitch so that the person can actually take it in and absorb it. And especially when it comes to your name and your company name. We blast past those two things and it's over. And it's embarrassing not to know the person's name. So we have a difficulty actually asking for that. And we don't want to say we don't know what they do. That's also embarrassing. So you have to be very careful how you give those two pieces for sure. And then the other part is what might work really well in Canada may not work well in another place. It may not be familiar. It may not be considered polite. It might be, so industry specific that the other person can't understand. Or it might sound like something else. And I know computer talk is often this an element. What's an element? It's not the same in science as it is in technology. And it's not the same as something that I would use on the stove, for example, right? And so if we get someone to look at our elevator pitch who knows nothing about our industry, it's probably the best thing. So that would be my number one tip, is to get someone else to listen that knows nothing about you and doesn't know your name and doesn't know your company name, right? So that kind of thing can go astray.
That's such brilliant, simple advice, really. So anything for a mic drop elevator pitch.
Oh my goodness. Like it was super fast. Do you want mine as an example, or do you
Well,
mean?
you could give us yours, absolutely. But is there something that that people go, oh my goodness, that was the? Is there something that really stands out about an elevator pitch apart from the elements that you've mentioned?
Mm-hmm. So maybe you could say something unusual that you do. So I save people when they're up to their knees in water. Would would make them think, oh, maybe you're an insurance broker, or maybe you are a lifeguard, or maybe I don't know what it might be, right? A plumber. There are lots of things that it could be, but that would be something to catch attention and give them a chance to hear your voice, establish the sound before you give your name and your company name and more details. Um, that might be what I would suggest, is something that would catch their attention and very, very simple words.
Brilliant. So as we get older, and I've certainly noticed it myself, my S's can go a little bit slushy. Why is that? And is there something that we can do about it?
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure if I have a 100% answer for you. I know for me, with my damaged tongue, S has to go. I tell my clients, between your front teeth, that there's this little, pretend there's a little space, and you're forcing all the air to that one point. And we have a very forceful S. I call it an angry cat S. So it's, and it's going straight here. So if we're, the shape of our mouth and our teeth changes over time. Sometimes we have sore parts of our mouth that can affect it too. I think that our ability to shape our tongue into smaller places is also affected by age. My my dad is an example. I think he's still very clear, but if he's tired, I notice a difference. I notice that in myself as well, that your tongue gets tired. And my clients are always saying, oh, my tongue can't reach here and can't do that. And it's different. And it is. From one language to another, your tongue is doing different things. And if you're really doing a good job of speaking my dialect, you're going to be tired. And it's almost like aerobics for the face and a workout for the tongue, for sure. So I don't
That's
know if that helps.
so fascinating, Catherine, isn't it? No wonder you love what you do.
I love it.
So what actually gives you the most joy?
Wow. Wow. I'm going to take an example of people who are from China, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, that sort of area of the world where L and R are pretty much always one thing. And there's no real distinction between the two. When they know what they need to do, L becomes L and R becomes R. And the look on a person's face, I'm telling you, it's because they're top professionals. They have managed to figure out how to get through school at a very high level, how to get to Canada or the States, how to find work, how to find housing, how to get their kids into school. Like all these things, they have handled such difficult problems, but they can't make an R and an L that are distinct from each other. Do you know how frustrating that must be? And you start to doubt your own ability and your own intelligence, right? Which is, it's not it. You don't know what you don't know. So I would say I can't really do R in the time that we have, but L, it's like a 1 second change. L is right here. Most languages, they're going to have, if these are my teeth, your L is up in here somewhere. If I do my L is somewhere in here. You're not going to do my L. You're going to do an L that everybody understands. That L is right here. And if you can show it a little bit, it helps people who need to see. So you say lemon, lemon, and you're pushing. You're not hitting, you're pushing. Then you've got L, just by putting it here. That's our problem. If you put it somewhere else, then we're like, is that a D? Is that an R? I'm not sure. I don't know what that is, because it's in the area of my mouth where I'm going to make a different letter. I'm not going to make an L in this area. My L is closer to my teeth tips. So that's number one. And as soon as you have collect, then whatever that other one is correct. And then you've got those two words separated, because the person knows this for sure is collect.
Wow, how fantastic. When you're no longer on this planet, Catherine, how would you like to be remembered?
Oh, wow. I think I'm being remembered now. It's such a nice way. It's sort of, I didn't know and Catherine told me, which is nothing, right? Somebody doing wonderful things, and if they look way back, a tiny little piece of their success will be that somebody helped at a critical point. It doesn't have to be me. Quite honestly, it doesn't have to be me. There will be people who help. But if yeah, I think that's it. I just want to be somebody who helped and it made a difference and that person kept going and was brave and had success. Yeah, that would make me
Fabulous.
super happy.
Fabulous. It's been an absolute education talking to you. Thank you so much, Catherine.
It's a
So for
pleasure.
everyone watching, please do check out the links below and find out more about Catherine, and do subscribe as well. So Catherine Steele, thank you so very much for talking to us.
You're very welcome. A pleasure.